So, we now have Katana Gen 3, and you might be asking yourself the question, Andy, which one do I get? The 50, which is cheaper, or the 100, which has extra features? Well, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to help you decide just that. I'm going to go over the similarities the two amps share. I'm going to go over the differences between the two. I'm going to tell you the advantages of the 50 over the 100 and the advantages of the 100 over the 50, and finally, help you make a buying choice. Disclaimer before we begin, Boss sent these amps to me for this video and they are paying for my time. Also, I have pre-release versions of the firmware and apps, so some of the things might not be working as expected, but so far through testing, I've had no issues. But, just to put that in there before we start. To help you with that buying decision, this is quite an in-depth video, so I'm going to give you some sound samples straight away so you can hear the differences between the two amps. I'm going to play this Albatroz from Maybach. I've got this switcher here. So I'm coming in here, and if I switch that button there, I go to the Katana 50. If I switch that button there, I go to the Katana 100. And on the floor, I have the Boss RC1 looper, because I'm going to record loops into this, play them through both amps separately, so that the amp doesn't affect my playing. So you get exactly the same sounds put into both amps. That sounds scientific to me. Right. First off, it's good to know that Boss haven't deviated too far from a winning formula in that the 50 still sounds like a 50 and the 100 still sounds like a 100. This is punky and raspy and naughty and angry, and this one is fuller and rounder and nicer sounding. Some might say that it sounds better, but I think some people forget about how good the 50 actually sounds. But I will also say that they've done something different, definitely. I've always enjoyed the Katana, but this time there's a richer sound, and we need to talk about that. When Katana Mark II came along, I genuinely didn't know how they were going to improve on Mark I, but they did, and they have done again with Gen 3. With the sounds, they've gone right back to the drawing board and built the sounds from the bottom up again, improving the amp's core, but they haven't changed too much that it's still a Katana. It sounds even more real. It sounds more dynamic, especially the 100. I can feel those dynamics when I'm playing. And feel is one of those qualities that's quite hard to describe, but I'll always put it down to, does the piece of gear make me want to play guitar? And absolutely yes, I got lost in just that first patch. And by the way, that was patch number 1 of the factory presets, so they're exactly the same. The second thing they have in common is they both have the new amp channel called Pushed, which, well, have a listen for yourself. This is the 50 first, followed by the 100. Similarity number 3 is that they both have the same effects in each amp. So you're not getting more effects with the 100, you're getting exactly the same amount with the 50. I'm not actually sure how much that is these days, but last time I checked it was over 60, and being Generation 3, Boss will want to cram as many effects in as possible. Similarity number 4 is that they both have the improved Tone Studio software for Mac and PC. Mine is a pre-release version, but my favorite thing so far is the graphic representation for the air feel and the tiny little Boss pedals in there. That alone seems worth the price of admission. Similarity number 5 is that they are both compatible with patches from Mark II and before. So if you've got some patches you created on an old Katana, or Katana Vintage, shall we say, or Mark II, then you can load those patches onto the Gen 3, both of them, and they'll be updated to the latest version. Right, number 6 is that they both have Bluetooth, which means you can not only stream audio to them from your phone or tablet or whatever, but you can also access the Katana app from the iOS App Store or Android. So this means that not only can you play along with backing tracks or listen to your favorite YouTube channel through the Katana amp, you can also edit your patches and save them and share them with the app. I know that Bluetooth capability is a big thing for Gen 3 because it's been in other Boss Katana products, and now we finally have it in, let's call them the big box Katanas, the real stage amps. Although it isn't Bluetooth capable out of the box, you have to buy the little Boss Bluetooth dongle, which I think is about 40 notes. And before you complain, not everyone wants Bluetooth. So I actually support Boss in not making the price higher and having Bluetooth as standard in both amps. Let people choose to buy the little dongle or not. But I think it is great that the 50 has it as well. They haven't just started with the 100. Similarity number 7, they both have the line out air feel, which is now augmented. So you can change the ambience settings, which is quite a complicated bunch of sentences. What it means basically is when you plug a cable in the back to get a sound directly to your audio interface or to a mixing desk or something like that, you can more closely control that sound and hopefully make it sound more like a mic'd up cab. However, the line out does not work the same on both of these amps, but we'll come to that in the differences. Number 8, a big one. All the new Katana Gen 3s have stereo headphones out, meaning that backing tracks and things like that will be in stereo on your headphones, but so will your guitar patches if the effect is in stereo. So you have like a ping pong delay, that's going to be in stereo. It wasn't previously with vintage Katana and Mark II. And the final similarity is that none of the Katana Gen 3 amps come with a tuner, which I know is going to be a sore point for some people, and some people were really expecting a tuner in this model, including me. I really think it's possible it might come with a future firmware update. I still think they should add it. That's obviously another huge discussion, but I'm really glad they didn't add some sort of screen to the amp. They've kept it Katana, they've kept it simple-ish, and they haven't gone full-on digital interface, allowing you to change everything on the amp. They've kept it to the app on a phone, which I think is the way to go. That being said, is there a tuner on the phone? I can't find one, but that doesn't mean there isn't one because I'm running pre-release software. But I'm going to wager that there isn't a tuner in Gen 3 yet. To sum up the similarities, I'm really glad the Boss hasn't neglected the 50 because they could have quite easily cut it from the range and made the 100 the most accessibly priced, cheapest priced amp. But they haven't. It's still here, it's still rocking, but there are some differences between the 50 and the 100. Difference number 1 is the Katana 50 Gen 3 is still smaller than Katana 100 Gen 3. It's always been the case. This one is the lightweight, smaller, carryable one, and this is the slightly bigger, slightly heavier one. Difference number 2 is the price. The 50 is cheaper than the 100. Always has been and probably always will be. But don't forget that sitting in the middle of these two amps is the Katana 50 EX. That's not available at the time of making this video, but it will be available if you're watching in the future. Number 3, just like previous versions of the Katana, they don't have the same speaker. 50 has a 70 watt speaker at 4 ohms, and the 100 has a 100 watt speaker at 8 ohms. And the speaker in this has a slightly larger magnet than the one in this one. That's always been the case for Katana. That's still the same difference. Number 4 is that, yet again, if you plug a cable into the line out of the 50, it's going to turn off the internal speaker. And that's not the case with the 100. With the 100, you can have a line out and run the internal speaker as a monitor. If you do that with that, you're going to get no monitor speaker. Let's test it. Number 5 is that the 100 has an effects loop, send and return, and the 50 doesn't. This has always been the case with Katana, and Boss haven't changed it for Gen 3. So in practicality terms, this means that if you want to use a looper with your Katana, for this, you have to go guitar or pedal board into the looper and then into the Katana 50 input. With the 100, you have the option of doing that, or you can put it after the effects into the power amp, meaning that you could record, say, a clean loop onto your looper, loop that, change the patch on the 100, and have a different sound for your solo. If you do that with the 50, if you change any sound on the amp, it's also going to change the sound of the looper. So if you're into looping in effects loops, you need the 100. Number 6 is that 100 Gen 3 and up has a contour switch on the amp, meaning that you can set that EQ for more American Fender-ishy sounds or more Marshall-y, sort of British-y, rounder, warmer sounds. This is a big plus for the 100 because if you're the kind of player that doesn't want to hook up to a computer or the app, if you don't want to buy the Bluetooth thing or indeed keep your phone far away from your amplifier, then the fact that you have a switch to do this on the amp is another reason that the 100 might be more for you. If you're just using, this as a pedal platform, or you're just happy with what you've got, there's no need to fiddle with it. So that's another reason to go for the 50. Hard decision, isn't it? Difference number 7 is kind of more than one difference, but I've combined them. This has a presence knob. This one doesn't. This has a cab resonance switch. This one doesn't. So you can select your vintage, your modern, or deep cab resonance on the amp. On the 50, you have to hook it up to a computer to do that, or the app. I keep forgetting about the app. So you have to basically do something else other than use the amp to do it on the 50. For that, on the 100, it's all on board. In fact, while we're talking about the panel, the 100 can have 8 presets, whereas the 50 can only have 4. Number 8. This is the Boss GAFCEX foot controller. You can use this with the 100 to change patches or turn effects on and off and add a bunch of connectivity with further pedals. You cannot use this with the 50 still. Also, there's the GAFC. You still can't use that with the 50 Gen 3. If you want to do foot controlling stuff and stay boss, you need the 100. To summarize the differences between the 50 and the 100, it's pretty simple. The 100 has more features and is slightly more expensive, heavier, and bigger. But that doesn't mean that you should not buy the 50. The first and possibly most obvious advantage of the 50 is the price. It is the entry into the big box katanas, and in my opinion, at that price, with those features, it is a no-brainer. The second biggest advantage of the 50 is that it is smaller and it is lighter, which a lot of people kind of ignore about the 100 because they're not big amps, either of them. But if you really are budgeting on space, like you've got a small car and you need to fit band members in or kids and whatever into the car, this does make a difference. I can comfortably have that on the back seat with other people in the car with me. The 100 is a bit more of a squeeze. Or if you're going on public transport or you have to carry things a long way, the 50 will make a difference after a certain distance, I promise. The third advantage is the sound. Like if you want a raspy, more punky sound, a more raw sound, I really dig the 50 for that. And sometimes the 100 is too nice, too polite, too round. And you can, of course, EQ it. But there is something to be said about the sound of the 50 that the 100 doesn't do. The advantages of the 100 over the 50, I've kind of covered them in the differences between the two amps, but I will recap for those that have skipped ahead. If you need more than 4 presets, you want the 100. If you want a foot switch from Boss to work with your amp, you want the 100. If you want to use an effects loop for time-based effects or a looper pedal, you want the 100. If you want to just, skip straight to buying the 50 and thinking, oh, I wish I'd bought the 100, you want the 100. If you want to do stereo expand, which I didn't actually mention in the differences, but it's where you can plug one katana into the other and have one be a master, one be a slave, and spread those stereo effects out, you need the 100 and another 100 or a 50. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't tested it, but I'm pretty sure you can do stereo expand with the 100 here, Gen 3, and then the 50 Mark II, or the 100 Mark II, which of course would be cheaper now. So if you're going to go for that one, you could also pick up a cheaper, smaller amp or older amp and get that stereo expand. As for sounds, both amps will keep up with a drummer, but the 100 will have more headroom. Also, the sound is richer and fuller, and there's more bass, and it seems to project more than the 50, which is, of course, down to the speaker inside and the larger cab. So if you prefer that more pro sound, then the 100 is the one for you. And finally, the old foot switch dilemma. I know I've said this already, but I'm going to say it again because some people buy the 50 and then send it back to upgrade to the 100 because they don't realize that you can't use this with the 50. If you want to control your amp and really unlock most of the features from the power of these amps, you need one of these. And if you need one of these, you need one of those, because this doesn't work with the 50. It does work with the 50EX, which is kind of complicating matters, but this is the 50, this doesn't work. If you want to control with the GAFC or the FCEX, you need the 100. As you've made it this far in the video, you're probably already leaning towards the 50 Gen 3 or the 100 Gen 3, or you've already made a decision. But if you haven't, let me help you out a little further. Go for the 50 if you already have a pedal board full of effects and you want a great sounding amp as a pedal platform and you don't need to switch anything on the amp. Or if you're going public transport, or if that's the most you can afford, simply do the 50 and don't look back. It's a fantastic amp. As for the 100, if you've got a pedal board or you don't, and you want to use the entire effects just using the GAFC or FCEX, the 100. If you have a bit more money to spend, go for the 100. If you have more space and you're very strong, go for the 100. And ultimately, only you can decide. If you're wondering which one I would go for, I would still go for the 100, but there's always room for a 50 in everybody's life. So if you have a collection of amps and you just want to try out a Katana, get the 50. But I know this isn't helping. Get the 100 if you want the Katana 100 to be your only amp. That's my final word. If you already own a Boss Katana and you're wondering if you should upgrade to a Gen 3, for me, being able to control the amp from a wireless app is a big plus point, because it means you don't have to take a tablet or a laptop or something to a gig, and most importantly, you don't have to leave it plugged in with a cable, which bothers me. So the app is the biggest update, in my opinion, so far. And also, the sounds might be better in Gen 3. I don't know yet. I haven't compared them to Mark II, but I will do in another video. And you can watch that video on this channel by subscribing by clicking that button up there, and it'll get delivered to you wherever you are. There are links to the Katana Gen 3 in the video description and first comment. I hope this video helped you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!